What's up guys, Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Today I want to revisit a topic that we've covered here on this channel before, and that is the positioning of the shoulders when you're pressing, right? Particularly if you're doing bench press, or as I'm going to show you here today, other exercises when you're training your chest, because there's two real reasons why you always want to be conscious of what your shoulder is doing. One of them is going to be the safety and the longevity of your shoulder joint as you're training, and the second thing is actually the aesthetics of your training and what you're getting from your training in the first place, because if you don't have your shoulder in the right position, you're actually going to screw up both of these. Let me explain what I'm talking about. When you look at the shoulder joint, you want to sometimes look at it from the side here in its position of the humerus, the upper arm bone, in relation to the rest of my torso here, okay? And what we often see is this anteriorly tilted humerus this way, where it's tilted this way forward, okay? That's very common because of postural issues that we all run into, because we don't address the muscles that actually cause this. The Pec Minor is one of the major muscles that will pull this shoulder blade down and forward. I actually put a complete video up on this channel about how to stretch the Pec Minor. I'll link it right here if you haven't seen that, because it is a popular adaptation and compensation that happens from our poor posture that we tend to sit in all day long. We do then have another alteration here. We can have more of a neutral tilt of the, which would be no tilt, of the humerus in relation to the rest of my torso here. And then we can have an actual posterior where the head is actually angled a little bit back in relation to the rest of my torso. What you want to be able to do is get the neutral at least to a bit posterior in all of your pressing exercises. And the best way I can tell you to do that is through one real tip, one thing to focus on, because there's a lot of people that try to do this and they retract their shoulder blades, but then their head pops forward, and that's not good. Or they try to do this and they shrug their shoulders to do that, and that's not good. What you want to be able to do is get the retraction and the depression of the shoulders at the same time. So we can do that very easily by focusing on the position of the top of our sternum. I always talk about this. If I were to grab onto the top of my sternum here, what angle is it at? Well, when my arms are forward, my shoulders are rounded forward, it's angling down at this angle right here. Literally, I could, if I tried to rest a glass of water on it right here, it would probably start to tip out and tip forward. So if all I want to do is get this level, then all I have to do is just angle the top of my sternum level. That's it. And by doing that, I don't just pull my shoulder blades back, I pull them back and down. Now, once it's in this position, we've created a much safer shoulder to press from, because we're not getting all this movement here. We're not jeopardizing the anterior, the AC joint in my shoulder, because when I get here with a bench, a dumbbell, if I were to go down and press with this anterior, I don't even want to do it because I'll wreck my shoulder, this anterior tilted humerus, with all that weight, all that internal rotation is literally what can pop an AC joint on a single rep. So you want to be back and down, but you set that up, you lift the sternum even here, set the shoulder blades down, and you'll actually feel stronger. And at the same time, again, from a performance standpoint, you are shortening the distance that the dumbbell or the bar has to travel, because you've brought your chest closer to that, okay, by getting the back in the position it should be. I'll show you the difference. You can see it in action. This would be when I get up here and I allow my arms to just sort of travel forward. My shoulders are shrugged a little bit. I just don't have a real attention to the right positioning of the shoulders. You can see that the press, there's activation of the chest, of course, but it's not going to be like what I'm going to show you now. So now I lift the sternum up, I pull back and down. Now as I press, I've even got a better pre-stretch on the chest itself, and I'll show you why in 1 second. So from here, press up, held down and back, down and back. Okay, so even from a performance and aesthetic standpoint, not only have I added some safety to my shoulder, but I'm also getting better performance from my pecs. And as I told you before, when you shrug your shoulders up and get loose up in your shoulder girdle here, you're basically taking, especially if you look at the upper chest, if the upper chest fibers come from here and head down to here, what happens when I do this? Round the shoulder, lift forward. What I've done is I'm just shortening them. There's no pre-stretch. You need a pre-stretch to get a more powerful contraction. So when I do this and this, now I've got that additional pre-stretch here that makes it more effective. When I come over to a dip, it's the same thing. I've talked about how important this is when you do a dip. You don't, a lot of times we get in this position and we do this. So we start here, shoulders are shrugged, they're way anterior. Jesse, come over here for one sec. Look at how anterior the shoulders are here. Okay, now if I were to go down too far, you get all that force being directed into that AC joint. That can also cause that same problem that happened on the bench press. So what we want to do is we get up, I'll show you again when I do this. Everything's kind of collapsed and working from there. It's not a good position. But if I get to the top and I lift the sternum up and I get that down and back, now when I'm here and everything's held down, if I don't allow my shoulders to shrug up, in other words, don't collapse in, now when I press, come here and come up. Instantly, a much better activation of the chest, a much safer position for the shoulders, and better overall results. So, again, I try to boil it down to the things that you can take home and do rather easily. And my one point that I want you to focus on is what's going on here. Ultimately understanding that we're trying to influence what's going on back here, because that's going to give you not only better results, but a safer, more injury-free future here with all of your pressing. All right, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. In the meantime, if you're looking for a program that tries to give you the reasons why and not just the what, because I think telling you what is not enough. If you understand why you're doing something, when you're doing the exercises, you feel them that much more and they make that much more sense. And that's what we try to focus on here at ATHLEAN-X. All right, guys, I'll be back here again soon. Let me know what you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do it in future videos. I'll see you soon.